Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 149 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we're going to hook everything up and start making crystals and test the setup. Enjoy! So with these machines, we need an input of steel and the carbide, which can come in here, and then that'll get filled in. Then the steel, which probably can like come up through here. Just a nice straight line. Meanwhile, the output of these needs to go to some kind of warehouse or something, which we can put right here. The used discs will always go in. The fresh discs will always go out. And the thing that changes is the input discs based on if the warehouse is too low. So since these things are going to always be on a full belt, you know, let's say 200 is fine. So grindstone needs to be less than 200 to try to put some in. So now we just need the steel to come. And it's getting here. So we'll hook this up. See how we make the grindstones. Let's put 2 inserters on the ends just to help it max out the belt. But grindstones are getting inserted. I'll unhook that belt for now. Then we can hook this one in. See how this works. Seems good. Seems like we're putting out about 15 per second. How's the rest of this working? It's doing alright. These last machines aren't necessarily going at full speed. But it could just be they're getting rid of the buffer that they had. So this is filling up now. So that looks good. Now let's see if this all gets distributed properly. Interesting. Just noticing that the ingredients are 45 grindstones and the output is 30 grindstones. So some of these numbers, at least as far as the colors of belts, are wrong. Where most of these probably want to be red. And we're actually going to need 2 input belts. And it looks like this is set up to the wrong thing on some of these. Anyway, looks like it's just this one. Okay, well. We just cut it up, move it 1 space over. And looks like the distances on these are wrong as well. So that's short, near, short, near, short, near. Then short, regular. So that one's good. And it looks like they're all basically messed up. So I kind of want to just pick the whole thing up. Then copy the correct setup right here and plop it in. And we gotta do that one more time here. Okay. We should have no more loops. But it does mean we need to have 2 belts of input, although we might be able to kind of make it work with a yellow. So if we put a yellow here, it goes up and then gets distributed on this one. And then that's the end of that. The second one is red. Looks like it has to be 1 higher because of this. And then it can just go along here. And actually this last one probably could just be yellow again, but we need reds in there. And the number of stones that we lose on average per second is 15. So that's the maximum rate that this can fill up at. And that's fine. It seems like it's basically filled up now. And with that, I think that's most of the supplementary components. So we should have everything we need to test this. So let's make sure things are disconnected so it's not going nuts. Let's see, let's disconnect each one of these polishing setups. So the first thing we're going to do is just collect the crystals. And then actually there's one more thing we need to build on the bottom that makes the harmonic splinters, combines all of them together. It looks like there's a lot of rocks. Rocks are really slow for the bots to take care of. I kind of want to do it myself. The reason they're slow is because all of the stone and coal lands on the ground and then they have to send more bots to pick it all up. So it ends up taking a long time. Yeah, each stone might need like 40 bots or something. Then the bots can handle the rest of this. Then the harmonic ones, we want to put some distance down to leave room for all of the belt craziness that needs to go in there. Let's build some sorting warehouses here. Doesn't have to be anything too crazy. Oh, I noticed that some of these are set to the wrong color. Probably should check the rest of them, but each one of these will go into the sorting warehouse. And because it's a sorting warehouse, it'll only hold one stack. Then it has an output that goes this way. Actually, just to keep them from the belts from overlapping each other, we can do something like this. And the last one can go in here. Those are basically output belts. So we kind of need to do the same thing here. Let's see how many crystal splinters we're going to need. It's only going to make 15. But we basically need red belts. So we need to put some crystals on one side. And then some on the other. I'm not too worried about priority, so I'll just let them do what they want. And then this other one can just be the last color of crystal. Oh, but this needs to be red though, so we'll get that red. But we can have one output going this way, making the other types. And then there's an output for this. They all get merged together. And we have a belt right there. Don't need any warehouses or anything. Okay, so we want to disconnect as much as possible. So we got that disconnected. Let's see, I'll let the outputs run. But then we'll disconnect it here to prevent this setup from running. So that should be pretty good. Okay. This should fire up. So there they go, outputting everything that they have, which goes into the sorting warehouse. Dust gets sent that way, green crystals, blue crystals, and the red ones. And they're all going to start quickly piling in. And these are checking to see, are they actually there? Yes, okay. If we have 1,000 of each. So once we do, this will stop. Meanwhile, all of that powder is piling up in here. And it has to be more than 1,000 before it'll start trying to use it to make slurry. This is pretty green here. It looks like the machines are slowing down a little bit, that these inserters are not quite fast enough. I think I was kind of worried about that. So we'll get all these replaced. And then the last one would get 2, but I'm actually out of inserters. That's kind of annoying. Please tell me I have more. I don't think I have more. Not really. Can I make some? Kind of. Well, it looks like it stopped, which is good news. Because we have more than 1,000 of each crystal type. So since we're good, there's no point in just constantly generating crystals, because if so, they would all start getting ground up. And I don't think we're really going to see the grinding process here. This is really only for when we're actually producing modules, and we're producing more of one type than another, and then we have leftovers, so we probably won't even see these grinding setups work. But hey, we're at 1,000, I guess, because this ran a little bit to fill up on crystal slurry. Okay. Next step is to hook up the individual splinters to get polished. And see how this filters through. I think this is all misaligned here. That's not great. How in the world is that happening? Ah, alright, hold up. We gotta fix this. This is creating quite the mess. So the input and the output belts are the same, which is what's causing problems. It's so messy. Wait, does that one not have any inserters at all? That one's missing one. Let's see if that one is missing one. Looks like all 3 of them are. Alright, let's hook this one up again. See what in the world is going on here. Oh, okay. I think I just put too much on here, where there's this center belt, which should really only be for output. But for some reason, it got split the wrong way. So it's really not that much of a problem. Just needs to be like that instead. Well, now look at this huge mess. Oh, that's not good, because they're probably all mixed up in here too. Well, actually they wouldn't be, because the output belts only have the polished ones, so the only ones we really have to worry about are everything that are in here. But still, sigh. Gonna have to walk through here. Make sure there isn't a single thing stuck where it's not supposed to be. So we got a mixture of cut splinters and polished splinters, so we got to make sure to put them in the right spot. It's very hard to tell the difference. See, that's polished and that's cut. And they're very similar. Okay, here we go again. Let's just hook up this one for now. And actually, I kind of don't want to, because I think it might start grinding crystals if only one of them's hooked up. So kind of got to hook all of them together. That's looking better. We'll just let this run and fill up. It seems mostly good. Hey, and this is starting up again. Looking good. All of that dust is going in here. But in general, we don't have enough, so we have to use some from over here to keep this machine topped off. Let's see. I wonder if these inserters aren't fast enough. I think it just barely isn't. So it seems like they're running most of the time. That's pretty good. Let's see, this side is a little weird. Ah, because we have some misadjusted ones again. What about the other side? Nope, that one's good. And boom, just like that, it's filled up again. It looks like we have a lot more green crystals than the other kinds, probably because the green crystals don't have as long of a belt as these ones do, is my guess. Okay. Well, it's time to put it all together and get some of these harmonic crystals. See how this works. Oops, that should have been red. You probably want some near and fars on here. But it's filling up. Okay. Well, now we got to get this back to the train station. And that's probably going to require quite a few belts. Belts that are unavailable. Once we get it hooked up to the train station, we'll be able to see this thing in all its unrestricted glory. Why is this one got a thing there? Oh, it's not quite fast enough. What do you know? Looking good. So yeah, when we're making all three crystal types, we're actually going to be consuming a whole bunch of this dust, since we don't really have any excess. I wonder how we're doing down here. Yeah, not too bad. Half a train's worth. And at the station itself, about half a train's worth. So we'll have to see how that works long term, but let's get it hooked up. Kind of got a bit of a problem here. Farms aren't running. Saline water's out. That can't possibly be true. We got saline generators down here. It looks like a water pipe was disconnected. Yeah, this water pipe isn't hooked up to anything. Guess it should be over here. That explains it. Wow, well, that's the first time in a while where the factory ran out of saline water. So we've been dumping it into making fish. We might have to make a bigger saline water generator, because I don't know if this one set of machines is going to be enough for the entire farm. Let's see, so that's not connected through here. But there we go. Looks like it's actually kind of close to the output of that pump. So let's plop another one in there. There we go. And what does saline water look like up here? Well, it's kinda running. Well, that's okay. This is mainly here to consume byproduct. But we'll have to see. If it's perpetually low on saline water, we might want to consider generating more. But this being disconnected certainly would have caused some problems. Alright, let's grab the belts that are made and go back up there. And our factory is certainly going to be pretty low on saline water in the beginning here, because we're going to have a very large buffer of crystals to build up, which is going to require lots of saline water. But it should only be excess saline water, so there should always be a supply on the base for the farms. Okay, let's see here. It would make sense for some belts to come in through there. And I'll have them conform to the shape of this setup, just so it's not, you know, a big square right here of nothing there. But we can give it a little bit of space, like that. And the same there. And running out of belts. That was fast. That was a quick, what, 1,400 belts? Yeah, it looked like we need a saline water generation of at least twice as much, but probably should put a saline water generator just right here, in the event that it can't get enough from the factory. And the final output can be from down here. Well, I'm just going to let that run to right there and stop, because we can only produce either the regular crystals or the harmonic ones. So we can test it at full blast without them. But let's see how this runs. Looks to be basically all green. That appears to be all green. Crystallizers are getting there. They've got buffer to work through. It's a large process, so it takes a long time for everything to start reacting. We haven't even gotten back to this stuff yet. But the fish tanks are probably going. At least some of them. I think this number of aquariums is pretty accurate, but it's such a large process that I don't know if the stars are going to align or all these are actually going to be running at the same time. But the polluted fish water looks fine. Collection of Santa rays looks fine. And most of these are running, it's just getting down past all those buffers. But that's going. Oh, looks like we need a radar here. Minimap is barely big enough for me to tell where to put the radar. Those are finally starting to catch up. These machines are slowly catching up. And the fish tanks are starting to turn on. What, maybe 2/3 of them are on? And really, the only way all of them will be on is if we need polluted fish water at the train. And because this is used to make the alien spores. So since the train isn't here, it's not running that part. But we're making nutrient pulp. Actually, should we be making pulp though? Because this train should be supplying it. Ah, I see they're fighting with those pumps. Seems like blue crystals is way behind. Why is that? Because these grindstones are backing up. It might be because this needs to be red. That should clear that out. Because yeah, now we have not very many green, but a lot of blue and red. And I suppose I could intentionally clog one of them up in order to see how the process works, grinding the individual stones, but I think it'll be fine. So we gotta take care of this pulp, which means there's not much to it. But we just need to come in through the side here and go into the tank. Which, there we go. Shut that process off. Oh yes, and give priority to the nutrient pulp train. We probably need to do the same thing for the saline water, honestly. So we'll do crazy zigzag in there. There we go. Now saline water's filling up. Yep, and those tanks are draining. Okay, all that shut down. That's good news. So we are using our byproducts. And it's getting down. A lot of these are finally starting to run near the bottom. Fish water's holding out. Looks like this is the wrong style of train station here. Where these actually need to be going in. And they're properly limited to the correct car size. So all this is going pretty good. I'm kind of worried that we're going to run out of this dust. Yeah. Dust is about to run out. And then when it does, this process stops. And that's fine. I mean, if it becomes a major problem, we can make a geo generator with washing plants to create an unlimited amount of this stuff if we need it. But I'm not too worried. Hey, we're actually creating a tiny bit of extra. Because we're consuming a lot of this right now just to fill the logistics system. And once it's full, we'll need a lot less crystals. But it'll eventually fill, and even if it stays empty for a while, that's okay. That when the byproducts are available, they will be used. So I'm not too worried. Like, we're not at the stage of the factory where this whole setup needs to run all the time. Just as long as it has the capacity to, if everything lines up. But it looks like that's running at full power. And that's probably about full power for all of the fish tanks. Fish water's looking good. We've got a healthy supply of fish. Byproducts are getting consumed. Collecting crystals. Let's hook up the last crystal now, since everything seems to work. And let that go into the train. One potential problem with these grindstones is, on average, we'll need exactly 30, which is a red belt, but I've noticed that sometimes it starts backing up, because sometimes you get more than 30 and sometimes you get less. So we might want to have a second belt in here. Let's see, that one can stay like it is. Oh yeah, definitely get rid of the blockage there. But it's all looking quite smooth. There's a lot happening here. Hey, we're even generating a little bit of extra dust here. Ah, crystal slurry ran out because the dust stopped coming. Probably because we don't got any left, right? Yep, this train's just waiting to get filled. Because basically the bus isn't running. We're maxed out on tin and nickel. And we don't have any silicon, so that would cause problems. So yeah, the more interconnected your factory gets, the more dependent each individual process will be on other individual processes. So it gets less and less predictable over time, which is why it's really important that you think about the logic ahead of time when you're designing something to try to make it as flexible as possible. Because you never know what the factory is going to be doing. So being as that's about to run out, then this whole process is probably about to shut down once all this crystal slurry runs out. So there we go. There is the whole crystal making process in its entirety. It's actually not as bad as I was thinking it was going to be. I mean, certainly compared to some of these other setups, it's quite large. But really, though, when you think about it, it's just the fish tanks. If you took those fish tanks out, this would actually feel a lot smaller, because these are the train stations. So you cut the train stations out, cut the fish tanks out, and then suddenly it's really not that big. But even so, it consumed like 15% of the space we had. So we still have lots of space to add new processes around here. And if we need to expand, that we can do that. We're not necessarily falling behind, but we're not getting ahead of the biters either. Our evolution's about 30%, and our weapon upgrades and the shield upgrade definitely helps. But I don't know, that's just that's just craziness. That's going to take a long time. We need a flamethrower for that. But it's really only that wall, probably because it's one of the oldest walls in the base, where some of these other things, it's not nearly as infested. See, that's a lot easier to handle. But we're looking pretty good. From here, we need to get these crystals to our circuit board bus here, and then from there, we can make modules. But that's going to have to wait till next episode. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later.